It's early March, 1890. In Vegas, baby! No, not that Vegas, but Las Vegas, New Mexico. One late evening, a large group of men on horseback, some with guns, galloped through the town of Las Vegas with white hoods on their heads to hide their identities. They rode through fields, cutting up barbed wire fences built by ranchers to close in their cattle. They destroyed 3 miles of newly constructed railroad, and they burned down mountains of hay that ranchers had to feed their cattle. They rode around the town, eventually making it to the city plaza, where they posted these flyers everywhere with the heading, Nuestra Plataforma, which means our platform in Spanish. These flyers basically said who these anonymous horsemen were and why they were causing so much destruction. They said that their purpose was to protect the rights and interests of the people, especially those of the helpless classes. They wrote that they wanted the Las Vegas grant settled, and that they wanted no land grabbers to interfere. We will watch them, they wrote. They finished off with, be fair and just, and we are with you. Do otherwise, and take the consequences. Signing it, Las Gorras Blancas, which means the white hoods in Spanish, by the way. 1,500 strong and growing daily. The consequences were already quite clear to the townspeople, who'd been witnessing the enormous group's property destruction for over a year. But also, though, wait a sec. Who were these guys? Were they scoundrels, or were they badasses? What was the Las Vegas grant, and who were land grabbers? Let's work our way back from here. We're in New Mexico, 1890. But New Mexico isn't a state yet. That happens in 1912. The land belongs to the United States, though, who won it in the Mexican-American War in 1848, which ended with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The treaty had 2 really important consequences for the Mexicans living in the territory that was taken by the United States. One was that they could all become U.S. citizens, and another was that any land they owned through communal land grants would be respected. Okay, hold up. So what are communal land grants? For the Mexican-American War, go back 200 more years. Mexico, which included New Mexico at that time, was controlled by Spain, and the Spanish wanted to push and push and push into territory controlled by Native American nations so that they could have access to valuable natural resources. One of the ways the Spanish did this was by giving poor farmers and sheep herders these things called common property grants, which were basically pieces of paper that gave them the right to hundreds of thousands of acres of land that they would share with their whole community. Together, they would work the land and live off it in exchange for protecting the valuable resources from the Native American nations. The recipients of the land grants assumed that their children, and their children's children's children, and their children's children's children, or whatever, would be able to share this land with their neighbors as well. The Las Vegas grant was one of these land grants, and Las Gorras Blancas were their children's children's children or something. Skipping forward again to after the Mexican-American War in the 1840s, which guaranteed Las Gorras Blancas the right to this land, New Mexico, especially Las Vegas, was going through some major changes. Big-time ranchers were moving in from all over to make a profit. Miles of railroad started being built. Business was booming, baby, but not for everyone. You see, these big-time ranchers who were moving in kind of just bought lots of barbed wire, which was just invented, by the way, and fenced off acres and acres of land for their own cattle, which they planned to profit from, even though this land belonged to several community members whose lives depended on it. These people were called land grabbers. New Mexicans who once depended on communally granted land for grazing, lumber, and water were essentially pushed out of it and forced to work for low wages for these new businessmen and big-time ranchers. And this didn't change despite the efforts of Las Gorras Blancas. But their contributions to this fight would be valuable for over at least a century.